Indestructible Gaming. Select your character. Musket Shot. Mr. K. Let the battle begin. Get ready for a battle unknown. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Indestructible Gaming and More. I'm Musket Shot. Alongside me is my co-host, Mr. K. Mr. K, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Indestructible Gaming and More.
Yeah, today we're talking about a game we played a while back and just never got around to doing a podcast for it, but here we are today doing it, and it is the game called Redfall. Just got released May of last year on Xbox and PC, and it's developed by Arcane Studios, which I kind of was looking them up. They're not that old. They started in 1999. I mean, I guess relatively over 24 years old, but they have a team in France and Austin, Texas, Lyon, France, and Austin, Texas. You're probably familiar with some of their games if you played them. Dishonored 2, which I know you like that Dishonored franchise, right?
Yeah, Dishonored's a pretty good game. If you haven't played Dishonored, I'd recommend you go try it out. It really gives you freedom with how to do things, but I'm not going to go into detail right now. Maybe another episode.
Yeah. Is another one that they did. Deathloop is one I've heard of recently.
Deathloop was pretty popular when it first came out, although the popularity has died down over the years. I don't remember when it came out, but
yeah. And then Blade. Is Blade somewhat new, or did that?
Yeah, Blade was recently revealed. I think late last year.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's currently in development.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for, because if it's the kind of like Dishonored but with the Blade coated paint over it, that might be a really good game.
Yeah,
especially with a character like Blade.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure the guy who originally played as him is coming back too.
I think it was played as Blade.
Yeah, I think the original actor who played as Blade is coming back for that.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's not 100%. Don't take my word. Look it up, and maybe you can prove me wrong.
There you go. And publisher of Redfall is Bethesda. If you're familiar with Bethesda, you know they do a whole bunch of games.
Good or bad.
Details of that. Yeah,
that's up for you to decide.
Yeah. So this game is kind of is mixed, and as far as reviews, if you go onto Steam, there's like over 2,000 reviews, and a lot of times it'll tell you if a game's like mostly positive, very positive, whatever. This one right next to the over 2,000 reviews, it says mostly negative.
Yeah. Just a heads up before we start our review, we played it when it first got released, and then came back to it later on, about maybe a year after.
Yeah.
So we got to experience the game, but we got to experience the game at its worst and its best.
Yeah.
So our reviews might differ from other reviews.
So you want to just kind of give a brief overview of what the game is like what the plot is?
I can't. I want to be honest. I'm not going to be able to go into like full description here because, to be honest, the story is kind of forgettable. So basically, this evil vampire woman, I don't remember her name, but she blots the sun out, which lets vampires.
She's called the Black Sun.
But isn't that what covers the sun? And
I think it is. But
they don't really make that clear.
Yeah, they don't really make it clear. Yeah.
So there's a black sun, basically like an eclipse, somewhat, that makes the place all red looking, and Redfall, as the name says. Instead of Nightfall. Funny joke, huh? But basically that happens, and these vampires get loose, and you play as these 4 titular characters, and basically just try to stop it. The game takes place in, I think...
Yeah. Yeah, it's like an open world thing. I have no idea what the town's supposed to be. And who knows? I'm sure. Fictional Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. When I was playing the game, I'm like, this does not look like Massachusetts to me, but
Mm-mm.
I don't go into Massachusetts enough to actually, know that. But I've been, it's been there a couple times, and I could probably say that, yeah, it did not look like Massachusetts. It was very open for Massachusetts.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if they were trying to make it look kind of like a seaport or sea area because it seems to be a lot of stuff that's over near like water and stuff. So
I don't know. To me, it just kind of felt like that was a last minute decision. They made the place first and then decided to say where it was. Because if you told me it was in Ohio, I'd probably believe you.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because it doesn't really make itself look like Massachusetts.
No.
Like, say if you play an Assassin's Creed game that took place in London, it looks like London. But if you play Redfall, if you weren't told where you were, you probably wouldn't know. You would just take a guess.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be any old residential kind of area with an amusement park down the street.
Yep. And then so there's 4 heroes that you can play as, 2 women or 2 guys. There's Layla, Jacob, Devinder, and Remy. I think you played as Devinder, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I played as
That was
Remy.
the nerdy guy, right? With the podcast.
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
And you
Remy,
played as one of the girls.
Remy, yeah, Remy, she's, I think, is Hispanic origin.
Yeah, and each character has like a unique ability that you can upgrade with the skill tree and gives them all unique abilities. There are abilities that you can share, like revive speed and other things. Honestly, you don't really have to focus on that too much. Just focus on your main weapons because that's probably what you're going to be using the most.
Right.
But the character I played as was able to do teleport stuff and some other things. I can't exactly remember. It's been a while since we played it, but I remember your character just had a robot dog and just not really sure what it did because I didn't play as them, but from what I could understand, it seemed like it distracted vampires.
Yeah.
But to be honest,
it could create a siren sound and stuff like that.
But we never actually used it because we didn't need to.
Yeah. No,
there hasn't been any moments where we decided to take a stealthy route because there's really no need.
No.
That's one of the problems with this game already. The AI feels like, I don't know, they're like butter. You can just spread them pretty quickly and get rid of them.
Yeah, that's I saw some reviews out of curiosity to see what people were saying, and that was one of the main things was that the AI was pretty stupid in most of the time in this game.
I will give them credit. They did fix it down the road when we last played versus when we first played.
Yeah.
But it wasn't much of a change. They worked better, yes, but if I can go up to a human with a gun and punch them to death without using any of my ammo, without dying, I don't know if that's an upgrade for the AI. You can't do that with the vampires, but the humans, I don't know.
I know. I think most of the time you didn't even really waste ammo on the humans. You just went up to them, punched them a couple times, and then they were dead. So it was like, wow, okay.
And ammo isn't really an issue in the game either.
No, it isn't.
The only times it was an issue for us is when, I don't know, maybe like a boss battle or something. But, yeah, we didn't really have much issues with ammo. Before we talk any more about anything else, we should probably talk about how the game works. So, it's your typical first-person shooter. You get weapons which vary from different weapons. A shotgun, I think there's a sniper. Basically, your generic weapons. The only ones being unique are, I would say, what was that weapon we used? That there was a weapon. There's like little blobs that put fog out, and if you go into the fog, you get hurt. And there was only one weapon that could pretty much stop that. I think it was like a freeze gun, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like you're talking about the red mist that shows up all over the place. That if you go
Yeah,
into, you
there's
take hits on.
there's two different kinds of red mist. They're both the same, but they're implemented in two different ways. There's regular red mist that if you go into, you just get hurt. That's kind of like your out of bounds area, and you're just you stay away from this area, kind of your blockage, pretty much. But the other red mist that I'm talking about is these little blobs in the middle of streets or just areas. Put out the red mist just to get in your way. It just seems like a padding for time, because all you really have to do is take out a specific gun. You can get pretty easily. You can get all these guns pretty easily too, and yeah, you just press the right trigger if you're playing on controller and just aim at it and it'll be gone. I remember what it was. It was a black light.
Yeah.
Because it turned vampires to stone, which was a really easy way to kill them, to be honest, because all you have to do is punch them after. So if you don't feel like wasting ammo, that's a good weapon to use.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just kind of felt like an annoyance rather than an enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But the guns aren't really different from each other than the generics. The only thing that comes to mind that makes the guns unique from any other game that you could play that's first person, they have stakes on them. Mm-hmm. What do you use the stakes for? Just stab vampires when you shoot them enough and they get pretty much paralyzed. And then you go in for the kill. But
I had one that was kind of like a flare gun type thing.
Oh yes, there are flare guns. You can shoot that at them as well.
Yeah, so you can
fire does hurt
catch them on fire.
Yeah, but the weapons aren't really special, to be honest.
Yeah.
Other than the black light ray, they're all pretty generic.
Yeah.
One of the gripes we had with it is that they had different rarities for all these different guns. And they're just, no matter what rarity you have, there's not much of a difference. Like yes, this rarity legendary pistol will do better than this common pistol. But fundamentally, it's the same pistol. There's nothing else special about it.
I know. Yeah, that's
the disappointing part.
Yeah, that really bothered me was that, a lot of games you can pick up different weapons throughout a game or you can upgrade the weapons and then you're like, I really didn't do anything.
Like take Borderlands, for example. Yeah. Borderlands does this extremely well. Yeah, you can have this cool green common pistol that, I don't know, shoots stars, which is pretty cool. And then you can find this legendary one that, shoots lasers. They make them so fundamentally different that you get excited when finding a legendary weapon.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what it's going to bring.
Mm-hmm.
You may not like it, but it's still different from what you were using before.
Right.
However, in this game, it's the complete opposite, and it's pretty boring, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I think, one of my biggest disappointments.
Yeah, there's health kits around which you can find. It's I remember having some issues with it, not a lot. I think there were moments where the AI hits you so much that it kind of stun locks you, and because you have to press and hold the button to heal. It's not as simple you press and heal. No, you have to hold the button for a certain amount of seconds, but if you're getting hit, it knocks you right out of the healing animation. So if you're in a fight and you need to heal, tough luck. Get lucky, I guess. Because the AI is not going to go easy on you. Because we've had several issues with that, I remember. But There's no crafting. You'd think for a first-person survival kind of game there'd be crafting. Not really, no. There's some side missions that you can do. They don't do anything other than give you XP.
Yeah, right.
And you don't get anything out of it either. You'd think you'd get like a gun or something like that. Some of them give you weapons, but there's no drive to do it since what I was talking about earlier. If you got like a legendary cool gun, it's worth doing the side missions, but honestly, you can get the XP pretty easily just by playing the game. You don't really have to do these side missions unless you really want to.
Right. Yep.
And the most story you're going to get out of them is like 1 or 2 sentences from the person you're talking to, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I left my doll at this house. Can you go grab it? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, the NPC players that you encounter in different places or in some of the safe houses and stuff like that. I remember some of them were just like, you'd go up to them, they'd just be like, that's it.
The closest way I can compare this game to one other game as well, Far Cry. Except it's worse. So with Far Cry, you have this map, and you go to these points, and when you get to these points, it unlocks the area map. So you can go to this area and look around for it and discover things, but you could also climb a tower and claim it, and it will uncloud the map you're in. So you can see everything that you missed or, it's got stuff to do. However, when it comes to Redfall, they have these little safe houses you can unlock as well, but the only things they do is give you side missions, which is a huge deal. You do some hunts and all that, and then eventually you fight like a mini boss, and you get a skull from them. But we'll talk about the skulls in a minute. The other things you can find in these are, I don't know, like some ammo boxes perhaps, or med kits that you can take with you. It's pretty much your safe space. So anything you can do at your main HQ, you can do here. And yes, you can fast travel between them. It doesn't do much for your map, though. It's just there. Some of them you'll get just by doing the stories, but some of them you unlock by going to a place that's with vampires or people around. You kill them and you flip a switch and it turns on a black light, meaning that you're in a safe spot. But yeah, they don't really do much. So the skulls you get are from those little mini bosses that I was just talking about. And basically, these skulls are your tickets to the main bosses. And you have to do these side quests in the safe spots because you need a certain amount of skulls to go into the doors that lead to this. I don't even know what it's called. I'm going to call it the Upside Down world, where it's all like dark and spooky and vampire-y. I don't really know how to talk about it because it's completely different from what the map you're playing on.
Yeah, it's like a completely different world. It's almost like an underworld or something. I don't know.
And there are 2 maps in the game that you go through, not just 1, but 2, which, begs the question, why didn't you just have this second part be with the first part?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're both the same. Yes, they have a different layout in different locations, but you're just playing the game again. You do the same stuff as you did in the first map, so there's no reason why they made them completely separate areas. Like, they could have just had this island or this area next to the first map, and if it was story reasons, you could just block it off with red mist saying come back later. I don't know why they did that. It's such a weird decision. Maybe it was too demanding for devices to have 2 maps, but look at GTA and tell me that.
Yeah.
But what else was there? We can talk about the main bosses.
Yeah, I think so. There was like there's like four main bosses.
Yes.
There's the Hollow Man, Miss Whisper, Bloody Tom, and then the Black Sun was the main boss.
I don't remember all of them. I just remember 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
I remember, I think the Hollow Man was my favorite because he turns, spoilers if you want to skip ahead. But we don't know the time when we're going to talk about it. So maybe skip I don't know. Let's skip ahead till we talk about something else on it. So the Hollow Man was probably one of my favorite fights because it was just a big dude in a pit. You run around him, dodge his attacks, shoot at him. Super simple, super easy fight. It's my favorite because it's the most stable of the bunch. One of the other fights that stuck with me, I don't remember who it was. It might have been Miss Whisper, but we were in this dark area and we had to destroy these like pillars of some sort or something, like statues of something. But this character kept sending out these shadow demons at us, not vampires, and these shadow creatures were never seen in the game. So these were exclusively to this boss fight for whatever reason. The problem is, these things come at an insane number. Like, sometimes vampires would be in a clump of 2 or 3. I'm talking about 20 to 30 guys at once coming at you. Yeah, they take only a couple shots to kill, so you'd think it'd be easy. But no, these guys surround you, which forces you to run continuously, because if you stand still, they will just wail at you. And it's not like they wait for one to stop hitting you. They do it all at once.
Yeah.
So if you stood still, that game over. And if you die during a boss fight, you just respawn. But if you're playing with another person, you can revive. Sometimes this can be pretty frustrating, especially during this mission, because you can't stop running. So if someone gets down, man, you gotta be lucky enough to get away from them in order to revive. And that's kind of what happened when we played.
And then one of the things too with those underworld things is when you did kill the boss, then you had to both get out of that underworld at the same time.
No, that's separate. That's something different.
That's right. Yeah, I was thinking it was with the bosses, but it was something
You
different.
are right about the underworld area. Well, there's 2 different types of underworld areas. There's ones for the boss, and there's ones for loot.
Yes, for the loot, that's where we had to go out at the same time.
Yeah, the loot ones, you go through an area, kill some vampires, and then you'll come across these, I don't know, these things wrapped in chains connected to hearts, and you gotta destroy the things before you destroy the heart. And when you destroy the heart, you can go around and collect loot, but you only have a minute timer. And if you didn't get out, nothing happens. You're just out there, and you keep the loot you grabbed, so it's there's not really a punishment.
Yeah, I was going to say, we didn't lose it.
So, what was the real point of the timer then? Because when we first did it, it put us in a stressful situation, which I liked. Because, it makes sense. Collect the loot and get out. But if you keep the loot, if you don't do it, why rush? I guess to collect the stuff that you can, but, I don't know. There was no real point of a timer then. If it's not going to punish you for not making it out. Yeah, you die and it will count as a death, but if you're not really punished, that's not really a big deal. And it's not if you die anywhere else in the normal map, you get reset back at the HQ, which could be kind of annoying if you're really far away from it. But that there's no real consequences, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bosses that was one of the worst ones with the shadow people. That was probably one of the worst ones we did. I just remember how we made it out. You were downed, and I just happened to do a couple of shots before I got downed, and then we won. So we got extremely lucky with that boss fight. The Hollow Man, I don't even remember what the Hollow Man boss fight was. So that speaks for itself. I do remember the final boss though, and that was the easiest one by far.
It was really easy to the point where when we did it, we were like, "Oh, must be more coming up," and then nope, that was it. We were like, "What?"
We did glitch it somehow, so we had to restart the fight. But our second time, we beat it instantly. It was so easy.
Yeah.
Like you'd think with a game like this, you know, shoot the main antagonist and kill the main antagonist. But no, remember those the underworlds that I was just talking about earlier with the hearts connected, the things connected to the heart? It's the same thing, just connected to the main villain. You don't shoot the villain directly. You shoot the vampires and the upgraded vampire, which I don't remember what the name of that one was, but it was a stronger vampire, which did really do amounts of damage. But you just horde clear, and that's it. And you shoot the things, and you just stab the person at the end in a cutscene.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say spoilers, but like, honestly, who's going to go out and play this game with the reviews? Unless you're really big into vampires.
There's much better games for if you're into vampire games. Play.
Oh yeah, there are so much better vampire games that you can look up. Even playing as them, you can find better ones.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, would have been a cool DLC for this game to play as a vampire, but, well...
Yeah.
But yeah, the final boss was just ridiculously easy compared to the rest, and I felt kind of underwhelmed about it.
Very much so.
Because we were hoping, once we do this, there's a second phase. No, she did. And it's like, oh, that's it? I don't even think we got a reward for doing it either. No gun or anything.
I don't think so either, yeah. I don't think so either.
And we just get the ending, and that's pretty much it. You can go back into it. Really, what's the point of continue playing after you beat the game? There's no other side quests. No. It's not like you get anything cool after your stuff's pretty much max stuff. If you're full on legendaries, like you can only hold 2 guns at once. So if you have both legendaries equipped, you're set. You don't really need much else. You can just sell off your guns, and I came out with like thousands of dollars just for selling my guns that I don't ever use. But there are, speaking of inventory, there are these trinkets you can also get from boss battles that give you certain things. You'd think it'd be like, it gives you the ability to go invisible, it gives you the ability to, I don't know, teleport or something like that. No, they just give you like special stats.
Yeah.
Like, you take less damage from blood leechers. I don't remember if that's the official name, but there are vampires that grab you and leech blood from you, which were one of the annoying vampires to deal with. There was also a vampire that, when she showed up, the whole area radius around her goes completely pitch black, so you can't see. And that's probably one of the worst vampires in the game. Cool concept, but fighting against her is kind of a pain. I mean, that could just be me, though. But,
there was a lot of stuff, too, that you would run around and pick up certain loot, but it was like, I felt like it was useless stuff, though. Like a pair of scissors, staple gun, staples. Like, just stuff that was like, what is the point of this?
I don't even remember doing that, to be honest, or what it was used for. Yeah. So,
and I think
that's how little I've done any of that.
Yeah, well, I think it gave you money and stuff when you went back to certain places and you could buy your weapons, but
what's the point of doing that if you can just sell the guns you don't use?
Right, exactly.
And gain like 3 times the profit.
Yeah.
It's like the game kind of goes underneath itself and backtracks. It's weird.
Yeah. So we have to kind of talk about the cutscenes. because those were like
good thing you mentioned that. I completely forgot about them.
those were like I don't.
So there were some
somebody said
cutscenes
they
that were full like 3D, like in game, which, mind you, only 2 of them. One in the beginning and one in the end. And the rest of them, they're just storyboards. Just pictures. They don't move. You hear them talk. It's like a slideshow. And you'd think from a developer from Bethesda, of all people, would have given Arcane the money to make actual, in-game cutscenes. Or at least a real-time cutscene where you're not actually moving and you're just watching. I don't know if the storyboard kind of aspect was a cut around costs or a creative decision, but it's not good. It really sets you back from the game, and it's just like, wow, did they just not have the money?
Yeah.
Because that's what it felt like.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost seemed like they were like, I think somebody mentioned in a review, they mentioned, were they placeholders for the real actual
That's what
cutscene?
it feels like. Even the developers themselves for this game said if they could start over from scratch, they would.
Mm-hmm.
So there must have been some issues between Bethesda and Arcane with making this game.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure who to blame on this one. So that's entirely up to you. You can say that's the developers' issue, or you can say that's the higher-ups' issue. Because there have been stories with video games that the higher-ups do screw with the developers, and may have them make changes, which cost time and costs development. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe there wasn't any cutscenes. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that was a last-minute decision when Bethesda came down and saw it and said, "Where's the cutscenes? I need story in my vampire game."
Huh. Yeah, maybe.
But even then, the story's forgettable. I don't remember much other than the game itself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember characters' names that you meet.
Like 4 characters? Yeah.
Well, no, not the 4 characters, but the actual, like, story characters that you meet in the cutscenes and in the game.
Yes. Yeah.
They're very forgettable.
Yeah.
Like, if you showed me the 4 main characters, I could probably tell you, yeah, they're from Redfall, but I wouldn't be able to tell you their names pretty easily.
Right.
But if you showed me a character from the HQ, I'd say, yeah, they're from Redfall, and that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much special about them. They give you some side missions now and then, which, mind you, there's chapters in this game, and usually you get like 1 or 2 per chapter, so that's why I'm saying you can just straight up ignore them if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
The game back then, compared to now, it was a buggy mess when it first released. It was awful. AI didn't work. The guns didn't have an oomph to it. Fights were just pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, I remember we went through this small house and we just punched everything to death. Even vampires. But now it's... I'm not going to say better. I'm going to say improved. It's improved, but it's not exactly, like, perfect. Yes, you can still punch people to death, but vampires aren't as vulnerable as they once were when the game first released, and they fixed a bunch of the bugs that were problems. Yes, we came across a few bugs in the version we played when we came back to it, but not as bad versus when we first played it. Character designs, I didn't really mind it. They looked okay. I don't know, I don't really like the designs of them personally. They look kind of generic for, vampire killers. But I guess they wanted to go for these guys are just normal people and they got into this mess. Because my character was a podcaster. But then I question myself and say, your character has a pet robot dog. That is no ordinary person. Because I don't see myself with a robot dog anywhere.
Yeah.
As much as I wish for one.
I think they kind of wanted to make them as like vampire slayers, and
it just doesn't come
not
across
really
like that, though.
No.
They just come across as normal, generic people. That's what they're kind of forgettable.
Yes, they are.
The only people I could probably recognize is like one of the characters that has like an afro on. I'm pretty sure she has an afro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or
that's
like a
Layla.
frizzy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at least her design looks kind of unique. The others, however, one thing we did notice right away, though, when we booted up the game is that for no reason, they just give them really big hands. And that goes for everybody in the game.
Yeah.
There is one person at HQ we specifically call Wreck-It Ralph because his hands are considerably bigger portions than the rest of his body.
Yeah.
It was very funny. We have a picture of it on our Xbox accounts, actually.
Yeah, his hands are gigantic. Like, compared to the rest of his body. It's like, whoa, what happened here?
Playing 2-player, we were able to see the size comparison between our face with the hands, and the hands were bigger than our face.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, maybe that was a creative decision. I just find it weird that they emphasized on big hands. The music.
A lot of sliding around of characters too. Occasionally, at times.
Oh right, yeah, we have noticed that.
Your character would stop running and just move around. It would be still like a piece for a board game. You just slide around. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, that was a glitch we came across now and then, both in the version we played when we came back to it and the beta version.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said beta, but it sure felt like one. Another issue we had, I think, was our weapons disappeared sometimes, but we'd still be able to use them. Or another case of weapons disappearing, we'd see it on our hands, but we wouldn't see it in the other player's hands.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were focusing on fixing more single-player stuff rather than multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
Mind you, we were using 2 different consoles. I mean, we were both using an Xbox, but I was using a Series X and he was using a One, so maybe it was the fact that we were using different generations of consoles. I don't know. I don't know how they go across with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, could have been.
Because I remember you were having a lot of frame issues.
Yes.
Especially when we tried to come back to it, and we couldn't because it was too bad.
Yeah, I felt that it wasn't necessarily Xbox One friendly.
The funny thing is, though, with the Series X version, when it first came out, it was locked at 30, which usually isn't a big deal with a game. But when it comes to a game coming from a big developer and a big company like Bethesda, you would expect at least a good quality game out of it. Right. Running at 60, especially on a Series X, where power is like the emphasis of the console. Eventually, they released a 60 FPS patch. I don't know. Weird that they decided to do that later instead of right away.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think the first release of it kind of felt like some games going into early access. It felt like an early access title rather than a AAA game.
Yeah.
Because it seems like they were focused on other projects and worked on this one in the back, in the corner, with a lamp on, and surrounded by darkness. They were also probably a vampire, actually, now that I think about it.
Oh, maybe.
But yeah, the music, very forgettable. I couldn't even hum you the main theme because it's forgettable. Like, don't get me wrong, when you're playing the game, the music's okay. There is music, so at least that's good. But, I don't know, it's not enough for you to look it up after you play and, like, listen to it on YouTube.
Right.
it's just good enough to hear while playing the game, and that's pretty much it. You're probably going to forget about it within a day or two.
Yep.
What else is there? I mean, art direction seems like kind of realistic, but not.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to describe. What else was there?
I don't know. I think
I think that
kind of covers
everything, huh? There is one thing that I can mention. There are cars around the map. You'd think you'd be able to drive them, but no, you can't.
Right.
Another thing Far Cry does that's so much better, it allows you to drive. So in Redfall, you gotta walk, and that's it. That's all you get.
Yeah.
At least my character, you can teleport, but even then, it has a cooldown. So I never used it.
Yeah. Thank God you can go to the different safe houses by looking at a map and then picking one of those safe houses and just
those safe houses were
going there.
That was the only benefit to the safe houses, though. Honestly,
yeah, I couldn't.
Other than the skulls, of course, but
yeah. I was like, oh,
yeah, it's just a very underwhelming game. You'd think you'd be going into something grand and fun. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there were any moments where we were kind of like, man, this game's fun. I think the only time we went into celebration is when we beat a boss because it was one step closer to finishing the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't get us wrong. I don't want to say enjoyed. We liked our time playing it.
Right.
But I feel like the game could probably benefit if it was a smaller game instead of this big game.
Yeah.
Because you're just walking around and like an empty map, essentially. There's no other people around except vampires and cultists, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you'd see some on the road and all that now and then, but then it's nothing after you kill them. In the first release, it was even worse. We never came across anybody. Like, I remember we'd go from one place to another and say, man, where are the vampires? I thought they were taking over this place. Where are they?
Yeah.
And yeah, they improved that in the recent version we played. It still wasn't very often we found them in these areas.
Yeah. And then anytime you came across actual people that lived in the town, they were usually just in the safe house. They weren't roaming around or being attacked by anybody. So it was it was kind of weird.
Yeah, and it was like with the cars, going back to that, the only interaction you can do with a car is blowing it up.
Yes. Yeah.
And by blowing it up, I mean just shooting it or punching it. Which you'd think
would realistic.
It expels fire, which, funny enough, probably one of the deadliest things in the game, which is funny coming from a vampire game. Because if you caught fire, there's no like put out button like Far Cry. I can keep going back to that because Far Cry. Just play Far Cry if you want to play. If you want to just play Far Cry, it's such a better game with this kind of approach. But yeah, fire was probably the most deadly because if you went in the fire, you're just dead. Yeah. Unless you had a med kit on you, you're dead. I think there was, if you went into the mist too, that was probably like an insta kill because it takes down your health so fast.
Yeah. But there's so many ways of getting around it too, though. So, I mean, there were times where we went through it, sometimes because we were just like, I don't want to go around all that way. Just cut through.
Oh, yeah. You can just run through. You can just totally ignore the red mist sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was necessary to get rid of it because it's not like you can climb walls.
Right.
Which, weirdly enough, sometimes it asks you to do that. If you just want to get to a location quicker. Honestly, the parkour isn't that great. I can't even say it's parkour. But yeah, the cars just suck. And there were moments in the game where I remember there was right before we got into like the final boss area, there was this road with a bunch of these guys, cultists that had guns, and man, we were kept dying to them. There were at least, I don't know, 10, 15 of them. And some of these had snipers, which snipers were like the worst because that took away a lot of your health. And it's not like you can just sneak around them. Once they have eyes on you, that's it. You can either run or hide. Not that there's like a hiding mechanic or anything, more like crouch behind cover. And I'm going to be honest, there's not really much cover in this game to begin with. There's not like a button for it or anything. You just kind of have to hope. But yeah, there were times where the difficulty was just upscaled for like no reason whatsoever.
Yep.
It's weird because the game is easy. It's, like I said, randomly it goes up in difficulty. It just decides, yeah, there's just 20 guys here who want to kill you versus there's these like 3 vampires you can punch. Like it was weird. It's not like it felt like they weren't sure what to do with it. But yeah, I think that one more thing before we talk about the ratings. The world itself with the environment cues, they were so obvious with storytelling in areas that it was painful to look at. Like there would be like dead bodies and above written in blood, the blood or something like that, or beware the vampires. Like some of the most obvious storytelling stuff in the world. It seemed like they did that. It's like they want to make it menacing, but it came out more comedic because it was so blatantly obvious. It's just sad. Yeah, but that's pretty much everything I can think of for this game to cover. What about you?
Yeah, I think we've covered pretty much all the topics that we were going to discuss when we discussed this before. Just off I don't know. So I think we've beat it to death.
Yeah, the horse is already dead. We should probably stop beating it.
So what would you rate it, like on a scale from 1 to 10?
That's gonna be a hard one considering we played from the very beginning, and then played it when it was very updated and very fixed with bugs. Man, I'd have to say maybe like 6.5. It could have been so much better, but the problems and the weird decisions they made, it wasn't a compelling experience. It could be, it was only, I would say I liked it only because I was playing with you. If I played by myself, I probably wouldn't have played longer than probably like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because the story doesn't compel you enough to continue. Because it's pretty much the same stuff over and over again between 2 maps. So, what would you rate it?
5, maybe probably 5 out of 10. I mean, like I said, the weapons I thought were kind of lousy, and there were a lot of glitches and other things. And as I mentioned, I don't think it was Xbox One friendly. You couldn't download the game; you had to play it like through the cloud, basically. So playing it through the cloud, you'd get either things that there were times where I'd get kicked out of the game, or something like that. So it's just it was kind of a tough game.
It was probably very much focused towards bigger consoles or more powerful consoles, but that still is weirdly not an excuse for it to start at 30 FPS when it first came out. Because you'd think if they were homing towards, those types of consoles that are more powerful, where most games are 60 FPS, you'd think they would have 60 FPS.
Right.
So it's a very weird decision that they did that. Especially if the Xbox One version, pales in comparison towards the Series X version.
Right.
So it's a very questionable game. I feel like there's not going to be a moment where you're going to be like, yeah, this works, or this makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
It was a bunch of confusion and weird decisions all around.
Yeah. As we mentioned, the final boss battle was very underwhelming. I mean, for especially for me to be like, "Wow, wait, that's it?"
Yeah, like imagine playing on like an Xbox. Like you did it, but if you don't have an Xbox One, imagine playing a very buggy and very unoptimized version of a game that was meant for more powerful consoles, and then you get to the end with the most underwhelming boss fight.
Yeah.
That probably would make me not want to come back to it ever.
Right. Yeah.
This is one of those, if you really must, a one and done game.
Mm-hmm.
If you like vampires and like the idea of killing vampires, I'd say go for it. But if you're not a huge fan of vampires or first-person shooters, stay away from it.
Yeah.
Don't touch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're better off just making a sequel.
Yeah.
Because it has the backbones for a good game. It could be a really good game, but the questionable decisions really tie it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of being vampire hunters because not a lot of games do that, other than probably indie games. I'm talking about like AAA games here. There's not a lot of games that do that, but this is very disappointing.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, play Vampire instead with a Y, because that's a pretty good vampire game on consoles. I'd recommend that one. And that one you play as a vampire, so that's a pretty cool aspect.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll cover that some other time. But yeah, this was Redfall, and man, did it fall. But
all right. So what do we got? What are we gonna talk about next time? I think we got an interesting game.
Well, speaking of Backbones, we're playing Backbones, but they did change the name to Tales Noir, which we just discovered today. Because we always knew the game was Backbone, but I guess at some point they changed the name. So we're going to be investigating as a noir character, and we're playing as a raccoon, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
But
yeah, looks interesting. We'll see how it is.
Yeah, we don't know too much, so tune in next episode and maybe you'll learn more.
Yeah.
But all right, that's it for this episode. Stay indestructible, folks.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Game over.
Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you enjoyed the episode. We're on Facebook and Twitter, and if you go on our website with the same name, you can also find us on all the other kinds of stuff you can listen to us to. Anyways, hope you have a wonderful day, folks. Stay indestructible, and peace.